Hey, everybody. Welcome to the weekly dose of Hustle with Heart. This is Erin Harrigan. I'm bringing you this incredible topic today because I don't know, it's something that I've been walking through, and I'm so curious if you've been walking through it also. So, picture this. There you are in your business. You think, I don't know what's going on with my laptop. You think, I totally have overcome what people think of me. I know exactly where God has called me to go. I'm doing exactly what God's calling me to do. And by the way, actually, things are going really great in my business since I surrendered to the Lord. And you're rolling right along in this flow, and you're serving and you're honoring the Lord. And then one of two things might happen. Maybe you have a conversation with someone that sort of unravels and starts to spiral you downward. It's not that they said anything bad. In fact, maybe they gave you some things to think about, but it just puts you in this place where suddenly you were putting more credence in what they were saying about your business, about your journey, about the work you need to do versus the Lord's. Or maybe it wasn't even a conversation, but it was you saw a social media post and you began to go down that comparison route, right? And here's the thing, all of this has so much to do with people pleasing or the need for approval, etc. So I don't know about you guys, but when that happens to me, I begin a little bit of a spiral, right? Anybody else feel that way? Like you sort of begin this spiral, and I kind of forget that like God's in charge. And I start to reach out to all kinds of different people to get their opinions on the situation until you have that one very wise friend who says, why do you look at that social media? Why do you speak to that person? Or why do you allow that person to take up so much space, right? So today I want to unpack this for all of us because the Bible is so clear, I believe, about where we need to be giving reverence and where we need to be truly putting value on opinions and whom we truly need to be pleasing in what we do. So let's dig in to some scripture around this. So the first scripture that I found on this the other day, I actually shared this Monday on our daily dose, is Galatians 1:10. And this came from my friend Jessie Kretzer, whom you may know from Beacon of Hope. She was one of my podcast guests earlier in the year. And she said, the verse speaks so clearly to get us to understand whom are we trying to please? Whose approval are we trying to get? Whose opinion are we giving weight to? And this is what Galatians 1:10 says. For am I now seeking the approval of man or God? Or am I trying to please man? If I were still trying to please man, I would not be a servant of Christ. So what happens in that moment where suddenly we're seeking the approval or we're trying to please, or we're in a conversation and we feel like, well, but if I said this, that would make that person like me more or respect me more or whatever that is. The truth is this, and it's hard. But in that moment, we are not serving Christ. We're serving that person. We're serving that person from whom we're seeking approval or for whom we're trying to please. And the way that we ratchet that back is to remember who made us, who he says we are, what he's given us to do, and whom we're made to be pleasing and honoring, right? So the next verse that I found was Matthew 6:24. And this is so good because it's another one of those things that we're constantly working through as we continue to grow in our relationship with the Lord and run our business on this Hustle with Heart journey. And that is Matthew 6:24, which says, no one can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one or love the other, or he will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and money or God and mammon. And so this is, all around that idea of the love of money, but I want to apply this to people in our lives. We cannot serve God and other people. God is our ultimate authority. He's got to have the priority. He's got to have the number one spot. And if you've read my book, Pursuing Success God's Way, A Practical Guide to Hustle with Heart, you know that was my issue. That was the wall, among others, that I hit that led to the peeling away of the layers and the bubbling up of the idolatry and the pride, because I kept trying to serve my business and people, etc. And God was having none of that, right? So the next verse is First Thessalonians, if I don't trip over those words. First Thessalonians 2, verse 4. For we speak as messengers approved by God to be entrusted with the good news, so the good news of Jesus and the Gospels. Our purpose is to please God, not people. He alone examines the motives of our hearts. You know, one of the things that comes up for me in this topic and in this scripture is my coach that I work with, Don Schuler, says that the noise of the world is like radio stations, that we're constantly trying to tune in, right? That static, that just horrible sound, almost as bad as nails on a chalkboard, when we're trying to tune in those stations. And what I speak about in Hustle with Heart is really tuning into a station called WGOD, right? Because here's the thing. The world wants to redirect us. The world wants to show us. And there are well-meaning people in our lives and in our businesses who want to hold us to a higher standard and a higher potential in all of these things. But if we are clearly God-centered entrepreneurs on our Hustle with Heart journey, pursuing success His way, we know that what He's given us to do is the most important guidepost. It's the most important path, and it is the most important opinion and direction that we can take. And I think that we allow the world to take up space in our brain, which gets us into these spiraling thoughts. It's absolutely one reason as entrepreneurs, and certainly in my network marketing business, we talk about personal development, because you have to watch what's going in, because that can be helping to form your thoughts. And if we give too much space to the world or those people who may be, again, very well-meaning, that can take us very far off track from what the Lord has for us. And let me tell you, the enemy wants us distracted, right? Like when this situation came up for me, I was distracted for 24 hours. 24 hours. I just could not have been as focused and as productive unless I were focused on Jesus. And that's not what was happening. So remember that our purpose is to please God, not people. He alone examines the motives of our heart. He knows the desires He's put in our heart. He knows the purpose that He has for us. And He's given us our businesses as a vehicle to walk out that purpose. Okay, the last verse that I have for you is in Proverbs, one of my favorite books. And it's Proverbs 29:25. This is the New Living Translation, NLT version, which says, fearing people is a dangerous trap, but trusting the Lord means safety. Now, you guys, I'm not talking about like all out, sheer scary fear. Fear as in reverencing. Fear as in putting people on a pedestal. Fear as in giving people a spot above God and letting, sort of not bowing down in the real physical sense of it, but sort of bowing down. Maybe we shrink back. Maybe we cower. Maybe we don't have courage. I'm wearing my shirt today that says courage over comfort. But maybe we are fear from that definition, and that fear is a dangerous trap. Why? Because we're allowing those people to speak over our lives. We're allowing those people to we're giving their opinions more weight. We're allowing them to redirect us and distract us. And I think a lot of times we do it because we're seeking approval, or we're seeking attention, or we're seeking recognition. Maybe we do it because we think we want to please them. It'll make them feel really good if I ask them their opinion, or I ask their advice or ask their direction or what have you. All I'm saying is let's be careful whom we're giving that space and that control, and that priority in our life. Because here's what we know as God-centered entrepreneurs. We are the branch connected to the vine. And we know that when there aren't any distractions, discontentments, doubts, etc., the nourishment from the vine flows freely through the branch. And when that happens, we are wide open to see and experience and embrace what the Lord has for us, and to take the inspired or aligned action that He's given us. When there is nothing stopping that flow of nourishment and wisdom and direction, the action that we take is aligned to the vine, is aligned to what the Lord has given us to do, and it has far greater reach. It has far greater lasting results. Supernatural things happen. Yes, we're taking the effort, and yes, we're in action and we're in motion. Don't get me wrong. We're not sitting idly by, but that action is dictated and informed by our abiding in the vine. And that aligned action will take us farther. It will have far greater ripples. It will have far greater impact than we could ever do on our own. But when we allow ourselves to go down this people-pleasing, seeking for approval, etc. road, it impedes the vine. It impedes not the vine. It can't impede the vine. It impedes the branch. And it limits the Lord. It limits what He can do. And yes, He's limitless. And yes, He's omniscient and omnipresent and etc. But He allows us free will. And our free will gives us the opportunity to make choices. And so when we choose to listen to the world's radio station instead of God, when we choose to fear people, when we choose to give them reverence, when we choose to seek approval or please, etc., we're limiting Him, because He gives us the choice. And His choice would always be for us to come to Him. But the beauty of free will is we get to choose. Who will we listen to? Whom will we follow? And all of that is what defines this Hustle with Heart path. So I am so curious what you think about this. So first of all, if you're watching this on the Hustle with Heart coach page or on YouTube, please get down and leave me some comments. If you're listening to this on the Hustle with Heart podcast, I would love to see your comments. And I'd love to see how maybe these scriptures help you. You know, maybe one of these is one that you can save and turn to when you're having those moments. And trust me, I know those moments are hard when it's our families or our best friends or whatever it is, right? The people that we respect. But I'd love to hear what you think. As we close up, a couple of things I want to remind you of. Number one, if you're listening to this on the podcast, you can always watch our live stream of the Hustle with Heart podcast in the Hustle with Heart coach page on Facebook. Number two, if working with me in some way is how you can get to your next step in whatever that is, your goals, there's a few ways that you can do that. You can be part of our 21-day Mind, Body, Business Boot Camp. We have one of those every single month that combines healthy gut, healthy mind with healthy faith, healthy business practices. I'd love to chat with you about that. You can take advantage of our 30 Days to Healthy Living with Arvon. I'd love to chat with you about that. So please, you can see all of that at erinharrigan.com. And I would love, love, love if you are finding value in this podcast to please leave a review, not just the 5 stars, which is important, but leave us a review. It just helps me know what's really resonating with you, and it helps me to find guests that will bring you value as well. So with that, thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you next time on the podcast and the Weekly Dose. See ya.